Second Language podcast, number 579. Telling people where you're from. This is English as a Second Language podcast, episode 579. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff McQuillan, coming to you from the Center for Educational Development in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Our website is eslpod.com. You probably already know that, but did you know that we also have an ESL podcast store where you can buy additional courses in English? Yeah? And our ESL podcast blog, where a couple of times a week we provide even more help in improving your English. This episode is called Telling People Where You're From. The U.S. is a land of immigrants, people from other countries, but also a country where people move to different parts of the country frequently. This is going to tell you how you tell someone where you came from before you got to where you are now. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Cora.
I'm Antonio. Nice to meet you.
Same here. Are you from around here?
No, I'm originally from Arkansas. How about you?
I'm a native Californian, but I grew up in the Middle East. My parents were in the military, so we moved quite a bit, but mainly around the Middle East.
That's really interesting. I spent some time in Jordan myself a few years ago doing research for my company, but I've lived in Los Angeles for over 10 years and consider it my adopted hometown.
Isn't that funny? Even though I was born here, I only moved back here 2 months ago. I'm sure you know the city much better than I do.
I'd be happy to show you around to help you get reacquainted with LA.
I was only 8 years old when my family moved away, so I have a lot of catching up to do.
Let's start next weekend. I'll show you some of the places where the locals like to hang out.
That sounds great. Is this how all Angelenos treat newcomers?
Absolutely. I'm the city's one-man welcome wagon. Cora begins our dialogue by saying, "Hi, I'm Cora. My name is Cora." Antonio says, "I'm Antonio. Nice to meet you." Cora says, "Same here," which is an informal way of saying nice to meet you too. Same here. Are you from around here? To be from around here means from that local area, born in this particular town or city. So if someone says, after meeting me, "Are you from around here?" meaning Los Angeles, I would have to say no. Antonio says no. He says, "I'm originally from Arkansas." Arkansas is a state in the central part of the United States, south of Missouri, north of Texas, I think. Arkansas is where Antonio is originally from. Originally from means the place where you were born. Usually we say that when you haven't spent a lot of time in your new location. But even now, I've been in Los Angeles almost 20 years. If someone asked me where I was originally from, I would say St. Paul, Minnesota. So Antonio is originally from Arkansas. Cora says, "I'm a native Californian." To be native to some location means to have been born in that particular place. In California, most of the people who live here, well, maybe not most, a lot of the people who live here are not native Californians. They weren't born in California. They came from other states or other countries. Native has a couple of other meanings in English as well, and those are in your learning guide for this episode. Cora says, I grew up in the Middle East. So she was born in California, but she grew up. She spent her childhood in another place, in the Middle East, referring to the part of the world that is southeast of Europe, northwest of Africa. Places like Iraq and Iran and Israel. Those are countries in the Middle East. Well, Cora says that her parents were in the military, the Army or the Navy or the Marines. So we moved quite a bit, but mainly around the Middle East. This is not unusual for military families. They get assigned to different places in the world sometimes, frequently. In this case, Cora moved quite a bit, meaning a lot. Antonio says, that's really interesting. I spent some time in Jordan myself a few years ago doing research for my company. To spend some time means to do something for an amount of time, usually not very long, but you don't say exactly how much. I'm going to spend some time working on my email this afternoon. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Or I spent some time in New York City. A couple of days, a week, could be longer. You're not really sure. Antonio says that he spent some time in Jordan, which is another country in the Middle East. But I've lived in Los Angeles for over 10 years, and I consider it my adopted hometown. Your hometown technically is the place where you were born. So my hometown is St. Paul. Your adopted hometown is another city that you move to that perhaps you love so much that you say, well, this is my hometown now. I'm going to adopt it, like you would adopt a child, I guess, or a puppy. I don't know why you would adopt a puppy, but, well, a cat. Why you would adopt a cat, I have no idea. But this is different. This is adopted hometown. Cora says, isn't that funny? Isn't that interesting? Even though I was born here, I only moved back here 2 months ago. I'm sure you know the city much better than I do. So Cora has been away for all these years, and she's now coming back to Los Angeles. Antonio, obviously interested romantically in Cora, says, I'd be happy to show you around, to help you get reacquainted with LA. To show someone around means to take someone to different parts of the city or to help someone become familiar with the most important things or places. If you come to Los